Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to some more Scrap Mechanic Survival Unleashed. This episode, we are going to be working on the automatic planting and farming portion of the factory. I want to point out that I have made a few changes since last episode. First, I've used some comments and suggestions and redid this drone, the chest portion of the drone at least, and made it so that it's a little bit less heavy and in terms of this. The only reason why I didn't do this originally was because of the scraping on the ground, but I thought of a new workaround using this sensor up front, which actually pushes the chest outwards so that it doesn't scrape across the ground when it's going down this ramp. And now it works, and it's light enough so that it shouldn't be a major problem when it comes to twisting around on these things. I also want to mention about these twisty parts is that someone mentioned that if this is going to be a factory, then efficiency is key. And these twisting things are not efficient at all. So at some point, I will be phasing them out of the factory production and just be going on to the twisty, rampy pieces, whatever these are called, wedges. Yeah, the twisty red wedges. And that's going to happen eventually, but right now they work because this is now light enough for it to work. So I'm not complaining. And it actually takes around the same amount of time for it to twist around these normal turns than it does with these as well. So if they're going to be even, I'd rather pick the route that has a least likely chance of failing than the other. And to actually increase the chances of it not failing when going around turns, I put these wedge blocks there, but I also got a comment saying to do this as well. So thank you for that and those comments, and thank you for those suggestions. So as you can see, it works just fine. It stops, it comes down, and it starts going again. I have the delay a little bit too long on one of these timers, but that's okay. And now this gets reset back to go. So we're just going to let that go around for a bit and just wait to see where it fails, because I have a feeling it will eventually. But we're going to get started on this farming. Because I got no suggestions on what to do, I'm just going to do it my own way, and this is how I am thinking about it so far. Instead of having just 8 autonomous individual farming places, I'm just going to have 4, one for each section of the, I guess, veggie trading system. This is just a prototype that I'm building out, and I'm probably going to start building to scale on the other side right now anyways. I'll probably have to move that drone out the way, but it's okay. What I have, the idea is, so far, this is subject to change, so there's a huge asterisk about what the current idea is. It's just going to be a simple farming thing that is on a piston. Let's see, do I have these pistons? Yeah, I do. Let's go up here. So what this is a dual planter right here. It has pistons, so it'll extend from either one plot to the other. And I broke the creative mode thing, survival. I don't know what's going on, but I can't place blocks or can't place soil anymore. But pretend that this is duplicated on the other side. What will happen is I will have a trigger once these farms are harvested. This will say, hey, this specific individual farm is harvested. That means it needs, I think so. We'll say carrots are here and broccoli are here. That says it needs carrots. So it'll twist. There's a bearing right here. It'll twist around whichever one is needed. So it'll probably do something along these lines. We're not going to have this in the way, of course. This is just to have some support for the other side. It'll twist it around to whichever side is needed, and then start an auto farming process using a controller and some timers. It'll be similar to something like this, and it'll be pretty simple. So once we get that going, we're just going to need to duplicate that. Oh, it's still going around. Nice. Just for the rest of the other 4 and 8 farms. So it shouldn't be too hard. I want to at least get one done this episode, and I can do the rest off camera. So the first step, I guess, is actually just going to be transporting this to its preliminary final location. And I will move that over in this area. Okay, it was a bit of an ordeal, but I got it over here. And I think this will be good for now. The pipes kind of look ugly, but I can fix it to make it look a little bit more, aesthetic. The reason why I have these pipes here is because I connected it to the water way over there. So eventually I'll be able to hook up that water source that's way over yonder. Now that we're here, I want to get some, I guess, preliminary just absolutely needs out the way. The first thing is that this pumping system thing is going to be too low and will be in the way of the drone as it passes over the state that it is in now. A simple solution to that should be if I can connect this to a controller. Let's just get a single controller and put it right here. And we don't want it right there, we want it to be at what, 90? Say 90 degrees like that. So that way it's out of the way, and that should allow this drone to pass underneath safely. That's a pretty good clearance too, actually. Not bad. Not bad at all. Next, we need to figure out how to actually make this plant and do everything else that's needed. The first thing we're going to work on is determining whether the plot needs to be planted into the first place. It's going to be a relatively simple system, I think. I want to keep things over here as least complicated as possible so we don't need to worry too much when everything stops working. And the only way we're going to do it is by having a sensor. So this is going to be as big as the farms are going to be. So this will be 12 on this side and 12 on this side, leading to 24 crops per harvest, assuming that these are both full at the same time. And that should be good and should have enough space and should get at least 2 packages per crop each harvest, which isn't bad. That's actually not that bad. Of course, if I feel like it, I can expand this pretty easily if I can make it, you know, another 3, maybe even another 6 or so. But we will cross that bridge when we get there, if we get there. So with this sensor, we're just going to attach it to a timer and attach that to a logic gate facing, let's make it face up. Okay, so basically this sensor will be able to tell if there is any sort of crops planted in this area. It will be connected to a timer and it will be connected to this. We're gonna need a second logic gate. Whenever there is something not planted, it'll be on. So once we know it's not on, and after something hasn't been planted for, you know, maybe like a second or maybe 2 seconds, I don't know how long I'll want to make it. So basically, if it's nothing's there and it's been like a second or so, we trigger an AND gate and this will turn on, telling the farm that this needs to start crop planting in this specific area. So in order to do that, we are going to have to ID each of these places. I think we're going to start with color for now, and I think it should be pretty simple. Using color IDs should be a little bit easier than using the bit and bit operating IDs, which I do know how to do, but that'll call for a lot more logic gates, and I don't think I want to do that. So basically, all we need to do is just color this light orange is what we're going to call it. So this will be the light orange carrot area. I mean, I guess we don't need to make this carrots, do we? We can just make it correspond to this area. So this will be the light red tomato area, and then that'll be the darker red tomatoes, and then we can do beetroots, and then we can do broccoli and corn. That's what I have it set up, or carrots, excuse me. This is the way I have it set up, and that's the way it should go. Well, I just spent like the last 40 minutes trying to make something a little bit more aesthetically pleasing on this area, and it doesn't look great, but it's something. Basically, I needed to connect this to the farm, and I wanted to do it without just putting sticks down. I don't know why I'm not waiting until after this is all done to do it, but I thought it would be fun just to see how it might look. And this is a preliminary idea. We can probably put some switches and buttons on it too if we want to, but all the control will actually be over here, not in this area. Maybe we can have a relay over here. Ooh, that might be a better idea. Okay, I kind of messed up that logic that I was talking to you guys about earlier. Some of you may have caught that, but basically I switched up the way the input should have gone. This and this should not be connected. It should be this, and so the NAND gate goes to the timer. The timer goes for a second, and then the NAND gate also connects to this output right here. And this output will connect to this relay station that I'm setting up right here. These two will represent the left and right tomatoes. These two will represent the left and right beetroots. Okay, I think I figured out an extra step of what I can do. I'm doing this kind of one step at a time. I probably should have planned this out on paper or something beforehand instead of just jumping right into it. But I think I figured out a good thing. The way that this farm is set up is that there will be 2 sections, the lower or closer section and then the outer section. What I can do is hook those up to individual bits like I have on this control room right here, or this, I guess, relay center. They have the close and then the further one. So I have like the lighter and darker and whatnot. And I have connected up a little section over there. You can't see it, but you'll see later in the video, a place for the 2 bits for closer and farther. I colored them white and a gray, so I'm just going to have like a white and a gray right here. And each of these will represent, or I guess one of them, I don't think this white one's even necessary, but it'll be there just in case. Will represent what point or what section is the farm over right now. Let's say we have a switch and we just put these switches down and we have these connected to here. This switch will connect only to this one. So let's say we flick this one switch right here. That will push the farm all the way out to the secondary section. So the more I think about it, this white won't be here or won't be needed unless it'll be an indicator. So that's what I'll have. I'll have this white be a connected indicator to which part of the farm is this harvester at. Okay, it turns out my proportions were off by literally 1 or 2 blocks for this entire farm. So I'm gonna have to slide all these plots, I think 1 or 2 blocks closer to their individual respective plots. And then I'll see you guys at the end of that. Oh my goodness. And we're back after quite a bit of time of deliberation / reorganizing and kind of redoing this entire section. I figured out the way to determine whether the farm is at this closer section or the farther section through the use of sensors. Yes, no surprise, we are going to have sensors here, and so one at the end that connects to this gray. Gray means far, I don't know why, but it's just like that. And so basically we can just put one there and call that right there. And Bob's your uncle. Now we can determine which part of the farm is at. To kind of go over what I changed. So the only things that I did actually change were I brought in the location of this farm by 2 blocks. I was actually able to fit it for some reason. It didn't actually break, which is good. And I actually had to move this entire piping out some because the car actually didn't fit underneath here, which I should have noticed earlier because it would have hit this pipe. So I kind of like shoved everything out, put some wires down, and I could probably put some support wires like right around here. That'd be pretty nice. I could put some supports or something like that, but I'll do that later. Right now we just have this area and it works. The relay station is back and set up and connected, and everything works on this side. I didn't make any adjustments on this side yet. I'll work on that off camera. So now what I need to do is determine how to twist these tubes the way they should be. And when I say tubes, I mean these vacuum pumps, these exporter of seeds and planters and whatnot. All I need to do is basically have a switch so that when it's at home or at 0, it will be facing, I guess, one direction, and then when it's out here it'll be facing the other direction. So I can just grab a controller and see if I can hook that up real quick. That's going to be a problem. So if this is driving around and this happens to be planting and at this position, then the drone will have a problem. However, I think we can work on that later. There are a little bit more things of logic I need to do with this track, the planting, and the drone once everything is in position. So we can worry about putting away the drone or stopping it, preventing it from going down in a loop, probably in a couple episodes, if not next episode. For now, we're going to have a mechanism that puts away the vehicle, or I guess the farming arm drone thing, away while the drone comes around. What we need to do for that is actually add another bearing. So I'm going to have to delete this right here. We're going to quickly grab a pipe, put it here, and then put an extra bearing if we have one, and put an extra bearing at the end of that pipe right there. There we go. So now we welded it back. Now we have 2 options for bearings to turn. I think this is the right way to do it. I could have this completely wrong, and thinking how controllers and bearings work, I could completely be wrong on that. If this white one turns on, we want to make sure, let's just put little indicators. I removed the chest just to make things a little bit simpler. So if I color the pipe so that I can coordinate what I want, we can probably get this working. Right now, in its current position, let's pretend that there are actually crops in every single, what's it called? Area, and nothing needs harvesting. This means that all of those will be off. So all of the relay points will be off. So what I want to do is put it in the stowaway position, which is 90 degrees flat either way. So if that happens, we can probably say this goes 90 degrees like so. Perfect. So now if it's off, if that turns off, so let's say that one of these happens to get destroyed, it will say, oh wait, I don't think I had the NANDs right. That's not how NANDs work, is it? It's supposed to be a NOR. Yeah, so not a NAND, it's supposed to be a NOR. So basically, if all of them are on, it turns on the bit, makes it go into stowaway position. If one of them happens to be off, it turns off the bit and puts the white one back down, representing for the white farming position. So that makes sense. So this is subject to change, but I think I will have this method for now. So when this gray one is needed, I made it so that it turns on this bit, and this will be turned on and controlled from some logic that I will put in the control center. So if any one of these are needed, so let's say that this one happens to need some planting, that will turn on some logic that I'm going to put up here. It'll just be an OR gate. Let's say I should probably paint these in a different color, but that's okay. This is the desired planting location. By that, we can just have an OR gate. So if any of these top ones, so any of the gray positions need planting, they will go to that one. And then any of the bottom ones need planting, they will go to this one right here. And this stuff will connect to the control center, and I just kind of put it there preliminarily. But right now, what we want to do is make sure that this is what actually turns the thing over, because we could have all this logic on, but if this is not facing the right way, then it's all a failure. So what I just did to make it hopefully not a failure was connect that switched light or logic gate, connected it to the secondary controller right here, made it twist 180 when it's on, and that should honestly be it. I could make it go a little bit faster, but I think it's pretty fun when it's slow, and also there'll also be a lot of weight on it. So we'll see what happens. So if I turn it off, it comes back and it switches over to the right. If I plant something there, then it will switch to the off position, knowing that everything is in place and good to go. Gorgeous. That's absolutely gorgeous. I think I'm going to split this project into two parts, or I guess 2 episodes. One will be getting one side working. The next episode will be getting the second side working, and then the other one working. This is kind of like the concept, and then there'll be the implementation for the next sides, if that makes any sense. Because I am going to need logic determining which side we need to be planted, and that's going to be actually a really quick switch, like a button or 2, left side, right side, and we're going to color those. I don't know. So now what all I need to do is basically make a system that will start farming a 12 by 12 or planting a 12 by 12 plot of land at a push of a button. That way I can have all of that be controlled from the control center and not have to worry about stuff out here. What we're going to have to try to do is replicate this over in a more functional spot. You know what? I'll put it up top so that we can hide the logic, but make sure it's not in the way. What we need is one controller for each side, so we can probably hide that off. Let's just put it, well, this will all be covered up in like a box area at some point, some sort of boxy looking thing. I don't know exactly, but we will have this covered up. So let's just actually just put it right here. So one controller is going to go right there. This controller is going to connect to this piston and this piston as well. What we need to do next is time the farming so that it can launch seeds into every section of the plot. This is only a 4x4, so we shouldn't worry about running out of room. I kind of did a little test, and this was doing a 3x5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, a 3x6. So I think we're good for room. Okay, I have just replaced the poles with actual seed shooters. I don't have seeds in them yet, but we can probably put some. So let's just put some tomatoes in here. Now that we have this loaded up, we need to put in the logic to make this launch every, I don't know how many ticks or so. It'll take a certain amount of ticks, but we can figure that out as we get there. We will need 3 logic gates or 3 logic bits. So let's just put those out right now. We will have the inside one, or the one closest to the controller, will be the one that makes the thing shoot. The outermost logic bit out here will control the, or at least turn on the farm at that side. So it'll be around, I think 40 seconds. I'm not entirely sure how long it'll be, but it'll be pretty high amount of time. And this will go to a bit, or I guess just a logic gate right here. And that will connect to the farm right there. We are also going to have an input/on bit somewhere. I guess we can make a relay. Next is going to be input. So the control center will send an impulse, or a small impulse telling whatever farm it needs to go to turn on. And it's going to go over to this relay center right here. And this relay center will then send an impulse to this logic bit right here, which will turn on the whole machine, if I can actually reach it. I put a debug button right here just to make things work a little bit faster so I don't have to keep going down and up. And this farm connects back to itself, if that makes any sense. So if I were to press this button, I change the delay down to about 9 seconds. I'll make it even lower. It goes on for 9 seconds, then turns itself off. Okay, with that, I have connected this output to this random bit right here, and that connects to that. That will lead to the planting portion of the farm. We'll call this the one that shoots, and we'll connect it up to the bad boy right there. What we want is for this thing to shoot every 5 seconds, or maybe like 5 divided by 4. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's 5 divided by 4, whatever time that is. Once that happens, we should be good. It'll just plant everything we need, and then we can get the watering working, and then this will be done. Because this is 4 slots, we will need to account for the 4 slots here. I think the way I want it to do is to go left, and then do the 4, then come back, and then move up 1, and then left 4, come back, up 1, left 4, and come back. I think I mentioned that this was a 4x4 plot. It is not a 4x4 plot. It is a 3x4 plot. Sorry. That's just a correction there. So if we come into this controller and make it go 9, I think we should be good. Okay, so let's say we want it to go 4 within 5 seconds. This controller at the slowest speed goes 9 within 5 seconds, and that's just fine. Now we want it to come back to 0. And then we want it to go back another 9, and then come back to 0, come back another 9. So that's 1, 2, 3. And I think that's all we need actually. Next, we want to make it move over by 1, or I guess 3, every time it finishes its 4-row thing. So it starts off at 0, it comes back to 0, it goes to 3 while it does that, goes out to 9, starts at that. It's just incrementing by 3 every time. I've done this before, so we'll just skip over the logic. If you don't know what this is from, I would suggest checking out my survival series, is where I go over this logic. Preliminary tests show that this actually does work pretty well, so that's good. And now all we need to do is actually get the timing right. And I believe all I need to do is get another timer or 2. I think I will need 3 overall. So let's grab another timer or 2 and snag them on this side right here, because we already have one there. I put one there, but that's going to be cluttered, so let's put it right here. What we're going to do is make this shoot once every 5 divided by 4 seconds, so 5 seconds, and that is 50 ticks, if I have my math correct. I could be wrong, but I think this should be fine when regards to how fast the vacuum pipe actually shoots. So all we need to do here is make this, the closer one will be the shooting mechanism, and we put this in a logic bit loop. So we do the nor thing, and let's pretend that this is on. So basically, once this turns on, it will send a signal to the shooter to shoot, and that will then send a signal back to turn off the bit. I just remembered that we're actually going to need to cut this in half by 25 ticks, or to 25 ticks, because the way that timers work, it'll actually take double the amount of time for the cooldown for it to actually shoot. So now this should be in place. So if we have it going 1, 2, 3, 4, and as you can see, it's continuing to shoot even though I don't want it to. That is where our trusty third timer / ticker / clock thing comes into play. On bright side, we know my wall turret still works. Okay, back to business. For this final piece, it's just as simple as doing another NAND and thingamabobber. And once you get that connected, you put this connected to the timer, just like normal. However, you're going to make it go every 5, I believe it is every 5 seconds. So you have this turn on for 5 seconds, and then once that gets full, it turns it off for 5 seconds. And once that happens, we don't want to be shooting for that 5 seconds. And we just connect them to each other, and then we're good to go. And then I'll show you guys how it's done. To test things out, if we press this button right here, it starts to go. It still stays in. It's sliding across just fine. It stops shooting. It starts shooting again. I might need to make the delay a little bit different so it doesn't accidentally mess up. And there we go. That's an entire crop working, and now it's turned itself off, and it should go back into normal position pretty soon. It'll take some time, but there we go. That is an entire 4x3 section of crops automatically planted by this little farming system that I have. Next episode, we're going to do the flip side, which is literally how this will flip over and work on itself. And then we'll work on finishing up some logic, and then we will do the watering as well next episode, because I've been recording for about 4 hours trying to figure this out, maybe even 6 hours. I don't know, a long time. But until then, I hope you guys have a great morning, afternoon, night, or evening, and I will see you next time.